Today we're finishing a whip. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, maanknitwear. My name is Umbriel. So today I want to be working on the Sibling Sweater pattern by Laura Penrose. And I am making that one using my Artemis Yarns Medusa Advent of 2024. It's currently a whip, but I want to take you along with the first part of it, of which I filmed little clips, and then I want to finish it together with you. So let's first start at the start when I first had all the skeins and I was planning this project. So let's go back to December of 2024. The first thing I want to work on is do something with my Advent that I got this year. So this is the Medusa Advent by Artemis Yarns. And I got the weekend Advent. So I got one skein of fingering weight sock yarn for every weekend. I also need to tell you what I'm going to be working on. You might have seen this in my hand. This is going to be my secondary color. I want to knit a striped sweater. And I did the same thing with my Artemis Yarns Advent calendar from last year, because I also got the previous year from the same dyer. And I had made the Stripe Hype sweater by Kutuvakika. And this year I want to make sure that you can see the Advent color a little bit clearer. So I'm going to be using white as the secondary color. This is Holst Tights, which is a silk wool blend. And I had it in stash, and I feel like I should use my stash more instead of getting the perfect yarn to buy it somewhere. This is a fingering weight, so it will work. But I want to make another striped sweater, Sibling Sweater, my size, by Laura Penrose. But I want to alter the stripes a little bit. So what I will do, I already have the pattern, but what I will do is I'll change the striping sequence to 10 stripes in my Advent color and then 6 stripes in this, or rows per stripe is what I mean. Yeah, I like it when there's like a thicker stripe and a thinner stripe, so I'm changing it to that, but that would work really well with the pattern because then the totals are still the same. Here is number 1. I asked the dyer if the Advent is a fade, and if it goes from light to dark or dark to light, and she said it was light to dark, which I'm hoping that it's not too similar to white because I'm striping. So if it is, then I know that I have to change my color. But then it's good that this is the first color. Ooh! Oh, that's gorgeous! Oh, so pretty. It's so similar to white though. Do you think it will stripe? So I showed you this in my Vlogmas day 1 or day 0, where I was talking about planning my Advent projects, because I want to make a striped sweater using my Advent from Artemis Yarns, held with, or striping it with this white yarn that I had. And I was wondering if there was enough contrast. But I looked at what you guys were saying, and you guys thought it was fun, and that's kind of what I was thinking too. Is like there's like a low contrast, but it will go into higher contrast, so then you will see the stripes. I really liked your reflections on it. There was one person who said maybe the base was like, this was a little too blue leaning, and the other white yarn that I'm using was a little too cream leaning. But I think I'm okay with that difference. I do understand what you mean, but I just really want to use this yarn. So I think I'll just go ahead and start that. I shared this before. These were my plans for making the Sibling Sweater with thinner stripes. So this as a main color with the thicker stripe, and then a thinner stripe with the white. I have not done anything. As you can see, I haven't even caked it up. So this would be something I can start now. So let's just open this one. Yeah. Oh, I love it. 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 I can already see where this is going. I said it in my previous video, but I'm hoping it will go to like super moody emeralds. But look at these colors in here. So yeah, it's definitely a fade. Yep. Oh, I love it. Okay, now I really want to cast it on. I'll cast it on like next week, but this is good. This is really good. I love it. So all of that leads us to the whip that we have today, February of 2025. So here is my sweater. I have finished the body. It is kind of looking a little like it needs to be blocked, but I want to just start the sleeves and then block it. It's a little shorter than I wanted. I didn't use the amount of stripes that Laura had done in the pattern. I have done a little less stripes because my gauge is bigger. And yeah, I striped into the ribbing as well. So I'm hoping it will stretch out a little bit more. I kind of want it to be oversized, but not too oversized. And I know that this superwash yarn will stretch out a little bit more. So here you can really see what I've done. I started with color 1. I had 5 colors and they were a complete fade from like this to this. And I have started with 2 strands of my fingering weight color number 1. I did that for the collar, I did that for the first stripe, and there you can't really see the striping that well. And then here I changed to 1 strand of color 1 and 1 strand of color 2. Then I did 2 strands of color 2, 1 strand of color 2, 1 strand of color 3, 2 strands of color 3, 1 strand of color 3, 1 strand of color 4, 2 strands of color 4, and then the last one is 1 strand of color 4, 1 strand of color 5. So color 5 is even a little darker than this. And I will put that in the end of my sleeves a lot more, so it will be balanced. So what do I do now? I'm gonna knit the sleeves, and I made a little schematic for myself of what I was going to do, but for the sleeves I am like, basically I ran out of this yarn, the color 1, but what I have left I split into 2, and then I can use one of them on one sleeve and then one of them on the other sleeve, held together with strand color 2, and make the first stripe. So I'm going to start with the stripe and then do the mini stripe in the white, and then keep going. So I will end with a little bit more stripes of the color 5. So that's the plan. I have all my yarn in here. I still have my cone back there somewhere, but I have this much left of what I wound off. So I have that, and here are all my colors. I'm not going to take them out now because it's going to be one big yarn spaghetti if I do that. But they're all in there. The Medusa Advent by Artemis Yarns. And it's a sock yarn. So I don't know if I mentioned that yet. So yes, I will show you the color 5 though, because it's really dark. So that's a lot darker than this last color too. Yeah, and it's time to just finish this. I don't mind knitting sleeves that much. So it's just a matter of, there were other things I wanted to work on, is why I put this on hold. So I'm gonna be knitting the sleeves, and you're gonna see me do it and finish this whip off. This is one of the ideas that I had in one of my previous videos where I was talking about Should I finish up my like long-lasting whips in a video, like a project vlog, but then just finishing up? So I hope you enjoy this. So let's finish up this whip. Hot water bottle time on the couch. It's cold. It was supposed to be warmer today, but I haven't noticed it yet. I've made a little bit of progress on my sleeve, on the first sleeve, and it's been a hectic week. I've been out of the house most days. Yesterday I was home at like 9:30, so I did do a little bit last night, but not that much. It is Thursday, and I started this sleeve on Monday, maybe. Here's the progress up till now. It's really funny because the first two stripes look so similar, but this one is fully color 2, and this one is half color 2, half color 1. And I was wondering, as I was looking at my sweater a little more, I was wondering why these two looked so similar too. And then I thought maybe I used two strands of color 2 on the first stripe, but now I did it on the sleeve, and I know that I used color 1 and color 2 on that first stripe. So they just really look very similar. On this side even, this one looks a little darker. So I don't know why, but here you can definitely see that blue color coming in. So that will be really fun. I'm going to have to wind another skein of this one. Yeah, but it's looking good. I had to change my pickup rate because I haven't talked about that yet, but my row gauge is off. So I had a really small, big row gauge. So I don't remember what the pattern had, but say the pattern has like 30, I had 20, something like that, like pretty extreme. So I have a lot less stripes in the length, but that also meant that I had a lot less stitches here to pick up. So I had to change my pickup rates to 3 out of 4 stitches. I think after that I had 88 stitches. So I started with 88 stitches, and then I did the decrease rate as the pattern says how often I should do it for my size, which I think I'm making size 5. I'll check, but just so you know which size I'm making. But my gauge is off because I'm using a size up. Sorry for the chaos, but you know me. If you watch this channel, my brain just goes here and there. But in my last video about the zipper sweater, I put down a lot of notes, like things that I wanted to talk about, and that ending was really good. So I'm going to do that for this video too. So at the end, there will be a structured final thoughts segment. So for now it's chaos, and then at the end you get a little more, less chaos, organized thoughts. But I was saying, the needles, I used a 4.5 because last year I also made a striped sweater, also with my Artemis Yarns Advent, and I used a 4 millimeter needle, and then my gauge was too small. So this time I decided to go up a needle size to 4.5. But now my gauge is a little bit too big. I often feel like I need a needle size 4.25 because that's where it switches, right? You have the 3.7, 3.5, 3.75, 4, and then you go to 4.5. But I feel like a lot of times I need that in between one, and I think they used to have it, but I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm doing this at 4.5, and I do really like the fabric, so I think it's great. But it does mean my row gauge is definitely off and my stitch gauge is a little off. So the sweater is a little larger, which is not a bad thing, I don't think. So yeah, I'm making the decreases every so often. But for some reason, even though I'm doing stripes, I'm just forgetting them. And normally I put in a stitch marker, but because there's stripes, okay, I'm just going to say the numbers, it doesn't matter. This is 16 rows. So this stripe I do 10, and then this stripe I do 6. That's not like the pattern. And the decrease rate is 8, every 8 rows. So it's always at the same spot. So I have one here, and then I have one here, and then I have one here, and then I have one here. But I already forgot one, so you can see here is a sharper decrease because I keep forgetting. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but I just keep forgetting where to do the decreases. So I don't know why, but maybe because this week has been kind of chaotic. So I'll just see how I feel when I do it now. I have a little bit of a more relaxed day, so I can work on this a little bit and yeah, hopefully get a little farther on this sleeve. If I get to like the final color, I will change to the other sleeve. It's my plan for now. Just so I can try it on when both sleeves are like 80% done and I can decide on the length. And I'm gonna do the striping in the cuff as well, just like I did for the sweater, because I like the way that looks. So I'm gonna keep going. See you later. It is Sunday morning and I think I'll be able to finish it today. So I already showed you a few clips, but I stopped working on sleeve 1 around here. This was 2 strands of color 3, so this was color 3 and color 4 together. And then I tried it on and I thought, oh, the sleeve is almost done because the drop shoulder is so there's a huge drop in the shoulder, so that adds a lot of length in the sleeve as well. But then I did the other sleeve, so I like to do that to go back and forth between the sleeves because it changes the way that the garment fits. I think because when I first only had this one, then it really drags down on that side, but then if you add on the other side, it kind of like drags it back that side. So now it's a little shorter. So yeah, I thought I was ready for like the ribbing basically, on this one. So now I know I'm not. So I'm gonna do another one with just color 4. Then so I'm gonna do a color 4 and 5 together, and then the color 5, and that's the end. So that will be in the ribbing. So I will just continue this one, do a white stripe, start the color 4 and 5 together, and then start the ribbing in that stripe, just like I did for the body. So I started the ribbing in this stripe here. So yeah, that's the same thing I'm gonna do for the sleeves. I don't know which needle size I went to for the body, but I'm thinking I'm gonna go to a 3.75 for the sleeves, because I like it when the cuff is a little tighter, but not a lot. Like I don't like a bishop sleeve, but I like it when it's cinched in a little bit, because it always like gets bigger over time, like this. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a little update. I tried it on last night and it looks so nice. I really like it. So I'm happy I'm putting my my attention to this one. I'm also working on my Dagmar zipper sweater right now, and I've wanted to finish it for my birthday, but that's in 2 weeks. And I'm kind of giving my whips a little bit of letting them go first. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna continue knitting on this, and I think I'll finish this sleeve pretty soon. So I'll just continue this stripe in this color, do the white, go back to the next color stripe, and then go to ribbing, and then it will go so quick. And then the ribbing will be, I think, 64 stitches. I'm like doing it kind of off pattern, because I started with 88 stitches, which is not in the pattern. I did do the decrease rate, and then I'll end up with 64 stitches for the cuff. It's a couple hours later, and we decided to do a huge spring clean session today. So it's already 6 o'clock, and I started the cuff on sleeve 1. So for sleeve, I guess this is sleeve 2, but yeah, I haven't finished sleeve 1 yet. So for sleeve 1, I'm like here, so I have this much more to go. See, then the colors line up. Yeah, so I have that much more to go on this one, and here I just have 7 more rows, and then a tubular bind off, or Italian bind off. I usually just do the sewing and not the double knitting part, because then it's not stretchy for me anymore. So yeah, just that's what I still need to do, and it's 6 o'clock, so I still have the whole evening. So I do feel confident. Well, I'll get really close to finishing on this one. So I'll have to do everything from here on the other sleeve. So yeah, and I think it looks so good. I like it to stripe in the cuff, to keep striping till the end. I can't wait to block this one. I feel like it's going to be so nice and cozy. Yeah, so I'm just going to continue knitting on it. I am in the middle of going to my smaller needle, and I wanted to show you how I do something like that. So here is the first cuff that I finished, and I wanted to go to the cuff to the ribbing halfway this stripe here. So you would say you do 5 rows, because there's 10 rows of this color. You do 5 rows in stockinette, switch to the smaller needle, and then do 5 rows in the ribbing. But that's actually not what will be halfway, because if you do that, if you start ribbing, you actually start ribbing in the row before. Because if you do a purl, you purl like the stitch that's on your needle, you'll purl it. So actually that would be, if you do what I just said, you would have 4 stockinette rows and then 6 ribbing rows. So what I do is I do 5 rows of the stockinette in my bigger needle. Then I do 1 row in my smaller needle in stockinette. And then I do 4 rows of ribbing in the smaller needle, and then I continue the ribbing. And then the first row of my new color will make my stitches from the last round also be ribbing, if that makes sense. But with that, with going to a smaller needle first, doing stockinette, and then starting the ribbing, you can, so sometimes when you just start ribbing with a smaller needle and you change to a smaller needle and you start ribbing immediately, you can kind of get wonky stitches. That's because of what I just explained, is that you basically, if you start ribbing, you do the ribbing on the row before that. And that is because it's a bigger needle that you just used. So I always do 1 row of stockinette and then I start doing my ribbing all in my smaller needle. So I just wanted to, I hope that makes sense what I said, but that's how I always do it, and I found that you get the neatest ribbing. So otherwise here you would have one kind of wonky row at the start of your ribbing. So yeah, I just thought I would explain that together with wanting to start it halfway this stripe. So I hope that helps. Yeah, and today I will for sure finish it. It's already afternoon of the next day. Yeah, it's not going as fast as I wanted it to, but it's okay. No stress. But I will for sure finish it today, because now I just have to do the cuff and then I can block it. So excited to block it. I made some notes for my final thoughts. My sweater has blocked. I washed it. It grew a little bit, but in all the right ways. So it is finally finished, and I have another whip that I turned into a finished object. So I'm super happy with that. I want to just to like share with you my final thoughts about this whole project and if I would knit it again and everything. So yeah, first I wanted to start about the length. As I said, it blocked out a little bit and I have nice long sleeves. I have this tendency of knitting my sleeves too short, and I almost did that again with these sleeves. When I tried it on the first time, I thought, oh, I'm ready for cuffs. But then I would have had my sleeves to stop like right here. And I'm really happy I put in the extra length because I do feel like over time when I wear my sweaters, and I have been wearing this sweater today, the whole day, but then it kind of stretches out and that makes the sleeves like get shorter again. So I'm super happy that I decided to go for the long sleeves, and they're nice and cozy and kind of big. So super happy with that, and I should really do that with more of my sweaters. Like for example, my Ingrid sweater, the sleeves are too short, but I'll get back to that someday. And then for the length of the body, it's a little short, but I feel like in the dimensions of like it being so oversized, there's a lot of positive ease on me. I feel like it's good. I think if it would be a lot longer, then it would kind of feel like a dress. Kind of feels like when I wear my boyfriend's sweaters, it feels that way on me, like a little bit too long. Like, yeah. So it needs to be in proportion. So I think that is good, and I love the positive ease, so that's great. Then I also, the gauge, I'll put on the screen what my final gauge is and what the pattern was. But I know I'm off gauge, so I know I have a larger gauge in both dimensions, both stitch gauge and row gauge. So yeah, I know it's bigger than the pattern should be, but I think the drape is really good on this sweater. The only thing is that it is a little holey, like around here, and I think that is because the stitches, like the yarn is a little thin for the 4.5mm needles. Like I said it before, I think I would prefer to have the 4.25mm needle option. So if you do know that that exists, whether or not that exists, let me know about that. And if you have the same thing, I don't know, is it just me that needs that? Then talking about the colors. So I said at the start that I knew it was going to be a fade. And when I pictured this project, I imagined it to fade the other way. So I actually imagine it to fade from dark to light. And I think the dark looks good with my like face, with my skin tone and everything. But the light kind of can wash me out. So what I'm trying to do is to break it up with like a darker color here, because I feel like this pastel color, just like grays, just doesn't really go with me. It kind of washes me out. But like this, I think it looks good. And I also put on some lipstick, so then it also kind of pops a little bit more. And I think it works. But I think in general, the lighter colors, like the more pastel-y colors, don't look the best around my face. So yeah, I'm just going to be aware of that when I pick what to wear underneath, basically. And probably in the summertime when I'm a little more tan, it looks better on me. I wanted to say something about the alterations that I made, because I made a few alterations. The first one you can see here at the front, there's no increased line here in the pattern, and I did add one. So these are 4 stitches, and then, or I guess it did 5 stitches because 1 stitch is in the pickup here. 5 stitches, and then I increased towards that side. And I think in the pattern there were no like stitches along here, but I felt like, or a really thin one, but I felt like it would go together well with a thicker increased line here on the shoulder. So that's why I did that. I went for those. I thought it would balance it out a little bit more. And I really enjoy to have an increased line around the neck, but that's just a preference thing. Yeah, so that's an alteration I made. Then also I picked up a different amount of stitches for the collar From the top of my head, it was 114 stitches that I picked up. I did pick up less stitches than the pattern says to do because I felt like I really like the thickness like this, but I didn't like in the pattern pictures and like other projects that I saw how big, like how wide the neckline was. So I tried to go down a couple stitches. And then I also did a double knitting on the edge here. So I did 3 rows, and I described this in my Ravelry project page, but I did 3 rows of doing double knitting over at the top, and then I did a folded neckline. I'm not going to do this too much because my microphone is there, but I did like more ribbing towards the inside, and then I knitted it down with my pickup stitches at the start. So that was a lot of work, by the way, because it's quite a wide collar, a lot of stitches, and then a lot of a 1x1 rib. But I really like how it came out. It's like nice and it's not too tight. It's like the perfect width for me. Not too wide, but also not too tight. So that's great. And then also, but I mentioned that I picked up less stitches for the arms because of my row gauge. Okay, I've been trying to say this a couple times now, but I'll say it one time, and this is my only chance to say it right. Okay, so my row gauge was off. So what I did was I joined in the round faster, which meant I had less rows around the armhole, which meant I needed to do a higher pickup rate. So for example, instead of 2 out of 3, I did 3 out of 4 stitches around the armhole, but it resulted in me having less stitches than the pattern states. So I had 88 stitches at the top of my sleeve, then I followed the normal decrease rate, and then I ended up with 64 stitches at my cuff. Yes, I finally said it in a way that made sense. Happy with that. Then a little bit of wearability. I think this is a perfect sweater that I can wear to work. I've been having a little bit of trouble with which sweaters I can wear to work and which ones I can't. I wear my Dartmoor sweater to work all the time, but I feel like this one can go into the rotation of wearing to work like over the top of a button up or something. So I think that is great. I do think, like I said, the color season, it's not really my color season up here. But that's the thing with getting an Advent, you really don't really know what you're getting. And if you knit it immediately as you open up your skeins, you don't really have control over what would be where. Like if this would have been a bottom up sweater, then it would have been a lot easier for me because then I would have had the darker colors at the top. But if the dyer had the fade the other way around, then it would have been different again. So yeah, that's the kind of thing with Advents. And I'm also kind of toying with the idea of not getting an Advent this year and maybe making an Advent for myself that I can knit from in December. So make it for myself from my stash in April and then gifting it to myself in December. And then maybe I kind of would have forgotten what I put in. But that's just an idea. And then also the dropped for wearability, the drop shoulder. I like it, but if I look at myself from the back, and I'll put in some clips of me wearing it, then I don't know if I really like the way that it looks on me. I have kind of wide shoulders and like a little bit of bulk back here. And I feel like the drop shoulder kind of accentuates that. So yeah, I think I'll try out some more raglans this year to see if I can, if I like that more. I know I like raglans, but I don't know. I'll just try out a few other things. I feel like drop shoulder constructions have been very popular. But yeah, it would be good for me to just try out and see what I like and what I like the look of on myself. How I felt knitting it, it went by super fast. I like doing stripes so much because it just is really like one more stripe, and I can often feel like, especially on the body, I can feel like it's never ending. With the sleeves, I'm a little bit more okay with. Body island is a bigger deal for me. Yeah, so how I felt knitting it, I felt pretty good. I did put it down at some point, but I had some other projects I wanted to work on, so that's the reason I put it down. But now that I finished it, I'm super happy. So that was great. Would I knit it again? I'd say yes, but I don't know if I love the drop shoulder look on me here at the back. Like it's almost like it kind of grabs my arm a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, maybe you can see it better in those clips. The shoulder, the drop shoulder is so far that I kind of feel like my arm is in there too, if that makes sense. And that makes, I don't know if it's the most flattering, not that everything has to be flattering, but I don't think it's the most flattering look on me. So would I knit it again? I would knit something like this again, but I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. Like maybe I would use it because it's a good, it's basically just a really good basic sweater for a drop down, a drop shoulder, drop down, drop down sweater. Then that was this vlog. So I hope you enjoyed me starting with a whip. I hope you liked the little compilation I started with. It could have been a little chaotic because I kept talking about the same yarn, but basically that's how long it just kept being pushed forward by me. So I hope you enjoyed me taking you along with me finishing this whip. And if you like knitting vlogs, then I created a playlist where there's already a bunch of videos in and that you can watch. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!